Hi there. So I'm with Colleen Anderson. She's the assistant principal at Paul Kane High School here in St. Albert. And today we're going to focus on isolation and some strategies to try to address isolation now in April of the pandemic.
Great. Thanks for having me, Shawn.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, so I have some questions I'm going to ask Shawn, and we'll engage in a conversation a little bit about our topic today, specific to how to address isolation. So, Shawn, my first question to start our conversation today is, how do you feel that our social lives have changed since the pandemic has begun?
Yeah, and this has been an adventure for all of us that we've had this big change in just how we engage with people and interact with people. Some of it is with the people that we're really close with, so with our friends, not being able to see them as much. And then I noticed some things with just people that I see in the grocery store that now we try to keep that bubble around us. And I like to, when I'm out in public, I often will wind up chit-chatting with a stranger around, hey, this thing is on sale over on the other end of the store. And now it's sort of a get in and get out. We just don't have as much interaction as we used to. So, one of the areas that we have is just this fewer opportunities for that in-person, that direct contact that we have. And so that's made us get a lot more used to dealing with things on Zoom or Google Meets, and which is sort of a good thing. But when we're spending hours and hours a day on it, then that's a bit more of a challenge.
Right. Yeah. I know, like for me, one thing I think of when as you're talking, I think about how now when you look back at photos or events you've been at, or you see a video of something that was filmed like pre-COVID type thing, the first thought that comes to mind is like, they're standing too close together, or, where are their masks? Like, it's become such a normal part of our everyday that we now, I think, are, unfortunately really used to being distanced in a way that doesn't feel as natural. It's becoming more of a natural feeling, which, I guess we can think of as a pro or a con, depending on how you think about that. But I notice that all the time myself.
We're getting more used to it. I'm confident that when we get on the other side of this, we'll go back to the way that we were before. I think that'll happen pretty fast. I think it will take a little bit of practice and getting used to, but I'm feeling confident that we're able to make this change in a negative direction. I think it'll be easier when we go back to doing it in the positive direction. So.
I hope so. I do think about, like, I'm I'm a hugger. I'm the kind of person that have always been very affectionate and really warm in that regard. And part of me wonders if I'll go back to that type of behavior, knowing that I haven't hugged people, other than my own immediate family for a year, right? So it is interesting to think about how many things we will actually revert back to and how many things we won't, right? So it'll be interesting to see those things happen.
I miss just those handshakes that when I meet someone for the first time, or I'm going into a therapy session or ending a therapy session with someone, I'm used to just doing a handshake, which is a normal thing to do. And it took a while to get out of that habit of turning that into a wave. And so I wonder if that's one of those things that'll come back, or will we feel like that's a little too close to do with someone that we know but we're not really close to? I think with
Right.
hugging as well, we'll have to do a bit of a dance of seeing, I'm ready now for a hug. I've been vaccinated. I'm good to go, but I don't know what the other person's comfort level
Right.
is, and it's going to be tricky.
It's true. It's true. I think there'll be an adjustment for sure. But yeah, it will definitely be an interesting thing to take a look at once we get to that place, and hopefully we'll be there soon. So.
I feel like we're missing out too on just some of what we get socially from people involves looking at their entire face, and we now are not seeing a lot of faces unless we see them on a screen, kind of like this. When when I'm out in public or in the grocery store, everyone is covered about 2/3 of the way, and so I'm not able to see them as well. We don't get as many facial expressions, or the facial expressions are not as easy to interpret as they are when you get to see the whole face. So I think this has impacted our social lives too.
Yeah, absolutely. So that being said, what do we do about this? What do we do about these things? What do you think?
I think we really have to be intentional about it, because I can easily enough go into just a mode of just taking care of myself, trying to stay isolated and stay safe while we're getting towards the other end of the pandemic. But then I'm not making those social connections that I need to. I'm only doing it with the people in my house who I love, and I think they love me. At least they loved me a year ago before this all started. We'll have to see if they still do, but you don't get that opportunity to be around as many people as you would like. One of the things that I've found has been really necessary for me is uh, taking those intentional steps to engage with people, whether it's by phone or by a Zoom call or a Google Meet, and to be able to connect with people in that way. A piece of good news with it is that people that I'm friends with that are in different parts of the world, before, doing a video call, at least in my generation, would seem a little bit weird. We weren't really used to doing that. I know people that are younger do a better job of that, I think, than we do. And now I'll say, hey, I'll make a phone call and say, this is kind of odd, but do you want to do a FaceTime or do a Zoom? And just about everybody is like, yeah, that sounds great, because we're not able to, we're craving those contacts that we don't have as much of as we used to. So I think
Yeah.
making sure that we have those healthy ways to stay connected is important, and then taking some risks. Like when I call a friend and say, "Hey, can I see you? Can we do this via video?" I'm taking a bit of a chance because they might think I'm weird. So.
Right.
But taking these risks to do that, knowing that most of the time the other people are craving the same thing that I am as well, more of that personal contact. And so
Yeah.
just knowing that everyone is in kind of the same spot, and that we're all looking for ways to connect.
For
What are
sure.
some
I
things
was
that
going
you're
to say,
seeing?
I think, for me, I think the opportunities to be outside and the opportunities to try to socialize a little bit outside, if you can,
Mm,
by doing active things, right? So going for a walk in a socially distanced, appropriate way, obviously,
hmm
with a friend is something that you can do, right? You're getting exercise, you're out. It's good for your mental health, your emotional health, as well as your physical health, right? So I've definitely tried to take the opportunity to be able to socialize a little bit that way. Seeing my parents, for example, that way, right? Being able to do something active where I'm able to feel that I can be physically present with them in a safe and healthy way, right? So I think that that's one thing I know our family has really taken to heart and tried to incorporate into our lives more. Having a fire pit on the driveway or something like that, where you're able to do something in an appropriate and in a healthy way that does follow our protocols, is also important to do, right? I think sometimes people don't know, and they're not necessarily aware of what are the safe things that I'm able to do to stay connected with people. And it doesn't always have to be behind a computer screen, right? I do worry a little bit about how much time we spend behind computer screens, and
hmm
wanting us to make sure we're thinking about how can we be creative about seeing people in other ways that are healthy. So I encourage that too with students here and staff and my own family, right?
I think that makes sense, and we also get again these opportunities to engage with people that otherwise we wouldn't do as much. Just today, I bumped into neighbors that I don't talk with a lot, but I happened to see him at the mailbox, and so we had a bit of a chit chat with good distance in between us, but a bit of a
Mhm.
conversation that maybe otherwise we wouldn't have had because we don't know each other that well. But where everyone is just sort of craving a little bit more
They
than what
are.
what we've got now.
And that's the exact word that came to mind as you were saying that, was craving that, right? Those conversations that you might not have had in the past, as you said, or taken the time for. I think people look for those opportunities because it is a social opportunity, and we have less of that now. And so if people aren't doing that, I would encourage them to, right? It's definitely something that I know, can feel really good just to have that conversation or that laugh with someone that you may not have even experienced before. So,
For sure. And we know this too with kids, that there were concerns about social skills and social skill development in our kids prior to the pandemic. And now we have a year of really limited social skills and social growth. And so knowing that a lot of our kids are going to be reluctant to engage in that. And so we want to give them a bit of a nudge to do that, and also give them some things that they can say, ways to start up conversations to help them to feel confident, so that their anxiety doesn't keep them from being able to engage with friends or acquaintances that could become friends like they used to.
yeah, absolutely. So that being said, how do you think we can support parents to help their kids?
I think I loved what you talked about with the fire pit, because I think that's a great example of how we set that up. How can we set up opportunities for get-togethers that are safe? And get-togethers really happen in a different way now. I'm of a generation where I didn't know what a play date was until I became a parent.
Sure.
And that wasn't what we talked about. My parents said just go play with somebody, and so we do more now as parents than I think we used to in terms of setting things up. And when kids get older, they're doing more of that independently. But I think there's been a bit of a reversion there for how capable our kids are of doing those things independently, because they just haven't had that practice with it. So you may need to
Sure.
set up things like play dates for junior high or even high school kids. I wouldn't call them a play date at that stage, but where the
No.
parent may have to do a little bit more legwork to make that happen.
That's right. With my own children, I have encouraged them to go out and meet up with a friend by going for a bike ride, for example. So,
Yeah.
now that the weather's beautiful, my son just today was going to go out with a friend this afternoon and meet up for a bike ride around the city, right? So that's a great way for them, again, to be active, to socialize, but in a safe way. So they're out of the house, they're doing something fun with their peers in a healthy and safe way. So
Yeah.
when we can find ideas that really encourage them to be active and to socialize at the same time, I think that's great. And obviously, that's dependent on ages and how much supervision is required, clearly.
For
But
sure.
there are ways to do that with all ages, for sure,
Yeah. I think
that
just
aren't
making sure.
necessarily just behind the computer screen, right?
Yeah, making them have those, giving them those opportunities that are safe, where they're able to make those connections, and encouraging our kids too to take some chances. I talked with someone yesterday about how do you get someone's contact information if you're a little shy to talk with them, and so
Right. Yeah.
giving them some language to do that. And if that's something an adult needs to help with connecting with the parent, I think, well, in normal circumstances, I'd really encourage the kids to learn how to do those skills themselves. At this point, I'm more inclined to give them a little bit of a boost up and to take that extra step to make sure that they get the basic information that they need to be able to connect during the summer. And in general, just planning for the future. What's this going to look like as we get on the other side of this? What are things that you'll be able to do with friends? What are you looking forward to with them? I think we want to make sure that craving is in there so that they're excited about when the opportunity comes, knowing that a lot of kids are anxious about making those social connections in general, and that's still going to be there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Super. Well,
Awesome.
thanks for the conversation today.
Great. Thanks, Colleen. I appreciate it.
You bet. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.